Oh dear, I am sorry for being late. I lost track of time in the library. It is nice to see that you're all here today. Now, before we start today's lesson, can we go astray for just a moment? There's something I wanted to talk to you about. Epithets. Does anyone know what an epithet is? It's not going to be on the end of year test. Do not worry. Nobody? An epithet is a descriptive word or phrase expressing a quality or a characteristic of the person or thing that is mentioned. Now, see here. This is a poster of Alexander the Great. Now, the Great was not part of his actual name, of course. This is an epithet. Now, there are a lot of historical figures that we have epithets for. There are lots of the Greats and the Braves, and also some negative ones like the Terribles or the Bads. Some historical figures' epithets might change due to their own achievements. On the other hand, some are just plain odd. Now, let's talk more about this. And let's look at the 5 weirdest epithets from history. Let's hit the lights. Number 5, Alfonso the Ninth, the Slobberer. Now, from what we know, Alfonso the Ninth was a fairly successful king. He at least had longevity. He ruled the kingdom of Leon for 40 years, starting in 1188. Now, his family already had a bad reputation. But for Alfonso, allegedly, he would get so angry that he would start to spit or froth at the mouth when talking about campaigns or conflicts or issues. Certainly, Alfonso was an energetic ruler, but his temper, apparently, is what people remember the most. Number 4, Robert I, the Short Stocking. Robert I was the eldest son of King William I of England, who had a couple of good epithets of his own. First, he was known as William the Bastard, and later on, after successfully invading England, William the Conqueror. Now, Robert was as skilled in warfare and as highly educated as his father, but he didn't have quite the same zeal that his father had. And apparently, he wasn't as tall as his father either, and his father didn't let him forget it. His nickname, Robert Curthose, comes from French and basically means short stocking, or perhaps short pants. Allegedly, his father gave him this nickname, and it followed him around his whole life. Number 3, Ivar the Boneless. Now we're getting pretty mysterious, even though with the recent TV show, this is probably the best known of all of our mysterious epithets.
Bist du nicht geflogen? Ik kan niet getrieben mij! Bist du nicht geflogen? Ik kan mij met de ballen! Ik kan mij met de ballen! Hoe kan u getrieben mij? Ik kan mij met de ballen!
Ivar the Boneless was a Viking leader who led invasions of the British Isles in the 8th century. Now, we don't know much about Ivar's epithet, but there are a lot of interesting theories. One theory is that Ivar was such a skilled warrior, like we might see in the TV show, that he moved so nimbly it was like he had no bones. Another theory is that Ivar lost some of his bones when he actually lost the leg, or maybe both legs. A final theory is that Ivar's nickname may have been related to his inability to do his part to make children boneless. Number 2, Selim the Sot. This one, unlike the previous one, this one's a little bit more clear-cut. Usually an epithet is translated as Selim the Drunkard, but Selim the Sot is so much more fun to say. Selim II was the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire from 1566 to 1574. He had the unfortunate luck to become Sultan after one of the most magnificent sultans, his father, Suleiman the Magnificent. He also wasn't really supposed to even be Sultan. One of his brothers died of disease, and two more were killed for being very naughty. They were convicted of treason. Selim didn't want to do much direct ruling and left management to his officials. He spent most of his time enjoying food and drink in the palace. In fact, he enjoyed it so much that at one time he fell down on the hard tile floor while drunk and died in 1574. Number 1. Ivailo, the Cabbage. Now this has to be the best and strangest epithet in history. Ivailo was born in the lower aristocracy of Bulgaria in the 13th century. And Bulgaria was not the nicest place in the world in the 13th century. After years of warfare, including conquest by the Mongols, Bulgaria's society and economy were in tatters. In 1277, Ivailo led a successful and unheard of peasant uprising that scored victories first against the corrupt Bulgarian king and then the Mongol forces. He was king of Bulgaria for just 1 year before the regional Mongol leader had him assassinated during an official visit. So what then is up with his nickname? First off, we don't even really know the guy's actual name. Ivailo was probably a version of a nickname given to him. The epithet Cabbage is from a Greek word, which itself is a mistranslation of his Bulgarian nickname. For a warrior who had a successful uprising, even defeated the Mongols, and that didn't happen very often, and has been an inspiration for guerrilla warriors throughout time, it is kind of a shame that nobody has done any better for him than Cabbage. Anyway, let's get back to our lesson for today. Now,
Ahem, please excuse the interruption. All students should proceed to the gymnasium for today's assembly teacher karaoke ensemble.
please check out some of our other videos too. Subscribe, and I hope to see you next class.